And this being our second week of the podcast, it's time for a new weekly segment. Today we've got our first edition of the Power Rankings, except instead of calling them Power Rankings, we're calling them Battle Rankings because, Battlehawks. Now, unlike the rest of this podcast, I'm going to keep this unbiased. I'm not just going to put the Battlehawks in first every week, so let's do it in reverse order. We'll go through them. In 8th place, we've got the Tampa Bay Vipers. I mean, this team really, really stinks. Winless on the year, only scored 1 touchdown in 2 games. Not a lot of hope for this team moving forward, especially in the East, where the other 3 teams are all pretty solid. It's a tough year to be a Tampa Bay Vipers fan. Number 7, the Seattle Dragons. Yes, they have a win, and yes, there is another winless team on the board, but that came against the Vipers. So it doesn't even really count, honestly. I mean, one of those crappy teams had to win that game, and if you watched it, it was pretty obvious how bad they both were. They were almost calling it a defensive battle, but if you the mistakes, the interceptions that were being made were thrown right to the defender. So it wasn't like some crazy defensive play that was leading to all the turnovers. It was bad offensive play. So Seattle Dragons, number 7. Number 6, the LA Wildcats. The Wildcats are winless at the moment, but there's flashes of potential there. They face the Roughnecks in week 1, the Renegades in week 2, both pretty good teams. I don't think they'll stay in last place for long. I could honestly see them making the playoffs if they can edge out the Renegades, but we'll see on that. And that brings us, of course, to number 5, the Dallas Renegades. The Renegades pulled off a win on the road this weekend. The only team to win on the road besides the Battlehawks so far. I think they were a little overhyped when they were named the preseason favorite to win it all, but that evaluation didn't come from nowhere, right? So they could still turn it around, especially in this terrible West. So number 5 for now, but they're kind of in that wait-and-see category. Number 4, New York Guardians. The Guardians looked like killers in week 1, but they got demolished in week 2. A little confusing, to be honest. I'm sure we'll have a much clearer picture of where they stack up when we face them next week. But right now, I'm not really sure what to make of this team. So I've got them at number 4, which brings us to the Battlehawks, number 3 in the battle rankings. Plenty of time to rise up, so don't panic. Don't hit the panic button yet, guys. We've played both games on the road, both against solid teams in the Renegades and the Roughnecks, and we're putting up numbers, man. We beat the Renegades. We played the Roughnecks very tight, almost beat them if it wasn't for a couple of mistakes. We're in this thing. The stats are good. We're playing hard. The fan support has been huge. I can't wait to see the Battle Dome rocking this weekend. We're gunning for the playoffs. I think we've got a real good shot at making it. Number 2, Houston Roughnecks. One of 2 undefeated teams, and of course, the team that just beat us. Already spent enough time breaking them down, but it wasn't a runaway. They're good. They're the best team in the West. Fairly undeniable, if you ask me. And man, that PJ Walker kid, man, he can play. He can play. But the best team in the league right now has got to be the DC Defenders. I mean, they look practically unbeatable. They destroyed the Dragons in week 1, but the Dragons stink. And then followed that up with a 27-0 dismantling of the Guardians, who again looked good in week 1. That was a real statement win. Cordell Jones is the real deal, man. This team could be a lock to win the East, but we'll see. They haven't faced the Battlehawks yet. They've got us twice, so there's a tough schedule ahead. They haven't faced the Roughnecks yet either. So they're good, but keep your eye on them because I don't think they're runaways yet, but so far definitely deserving of that number 1 spot.